Welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson. We have really a great lineup of some guests, and the first of which is somebody I've been looking forward to talking to for quite some time. Star Parker. She's the president of CURE, which stands for Center for Urban Renewal and Education. It's a conservative think tank in Washington, D.C., and her own personal story from where she came from to accepting Christ into her life and what she is doing today is a remarkable one. But today she's going to talk to us about some of the key issues that she's tracking with her think tank in Washington, D.C. So join me now as we talk to Star Parker. Well, today I've been looking forward to interviewing our special guest, Star Parker, for quite some time. It's been a long time since I've talked to her on the phone, and if you've ever heard this lady speak, you are in for an event. She moves you to the core of your heart and your soul. She's president of CURE, which is Center of Urban Renewal and Education, and she talks on a lot of subjects, and she writes on a lot of subjects. And let me encourage you to maybe check out some of her writings. And Star, welcome. Where can they go to pick up some of your articles?
Well, if they go to my website, urbancure.org, then they'll get them straight from me. Otherwise, they're syndicated nationally, and they can look at their local newspaper, go to some of their most favorite news sites like Town Hall or WorldNet Daily or One News Now. But we prefer they come to urbancure.org and come straight to me. It's good being with you, Perry. Hi.
Hi. Nice to see you. Good. Yeah, thank you. Are you going to be at the NRB?
I will. So I'll see you there as well. I certainly am coming down to Nashville yet again. In fact, I just left California to come back here to Washington, D.C., and I wish I brought the sunshine with me because we're getting ready to, we're preparing now for another huge storm. So It's been an interesting winter. But I am going to get up out of here in a couple of weeks and be at NRB, the National Religious Broadcasters Annual Conference.
Well, we'll catch up with you there. We had the good fortune of picking up LPTV Station of the Year from them, so we're looking forward to that award.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you.
And good. And please come tap me when you see me there, because, you know, it is important that we get together. I think there are many more coming to the front lines to say there is something terribly wrong in our country today, and we're at a critical cross point similar to in the 1850s where we just can't go on like this anymore. We can't be so divided, you know, the rich against the poor, as the president is trying to say, the have and the have not. We cannot have as well those that work and those that don't, and we're just really needing to redefine who we are as a people, and NRB is one place that we can build ourselves up and get refocused on the biblical worldview and its contributions and role in our society today.
Well, that is so true. Well, let's get into a couple of these, Star. I don't even know where to start because I know that you could probably speak for hours on all of them, but one quick one, and that is yesterday the president again changed the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, and this makes 27 times since he was signed into law that he's changed it. Is this legal?
Well, it is legal now. Whether it's something that the American people should allow to happen, so much power out of the executive branch after not only he forced through the law in the Congress, but to also have the Supreme Court say that it was constitutional. The Supreme Court did say that it's a tax, so the Congress can defund it, and the president cannot do anything with the funding part of Obamacare, but he certainly can tweak around the edges, as we're seeing him do. Yeah. And frankly, some of us are saying go for it, because we might not have to have a big effort to repeal, because it looks like he might be repealing it himself. But we should, as a people, be very discouraged in what's going on for the executive to think that he has so much authority in the executive branch to have forced something down the American people's throats that changed a sixth of our economy, and yet now for those that have access get to opt out. He should opt all Americans out. This is very damaging to the healthcare industry and individuals in particular. Right. So we know the Hobby Lobby. We know of the damage that this is doing to individuals and to businesses.
Let's get into immigration real quick. Immigration reform, apparently, according to Boehner, it may not come up this year, but some of the proposals are all over the board. What do you think is the realistic approach to this issue?
Well, the first thing we need to do is to make sure that the borders are secure. And in today's technological age, we have all the mechanics to get that done. We just need the political will to make sure that it's done to secure our borders. And when I bring up technology of it, is so that we don't think about manpower. We have to expand bureaucracy. We have the ability as a country to secure our borders. That is the first order of business. But yes, there are many that are asking, well, what do we do after that? Well, in my opinion, we separate those that are here into 5 different categories. We discuss the ones that are here that are criminals, and we have a separate legislation. What we don't want is comprehensive immigration reform. We cannot address these 5 different categories in one bill. We have to talk about the criminals. We have to talk about the individuals that are here that have no children. We have to talk about and have separate discussion and debate and initiative bill on those that are here that have American children. Then another category is those that are here that have illegal children. And then we have to talk about those that are here that are have no legal status to be here, but they're over 18 years old, and they were brought here as children, and now they're adults, and they never had legal status. So those 5 categories are unique and need uniqueness and deep thought and their own initiative for what we're going to do as American people, what we're going to decide to do about these 5 categories. But what has been going on in Washington is that the establishment that has interest in immigration, whether it's the business establishment or whether it's the political establishment or whether it's just the general lobby establishment, meaning the think tank world, has special interest. They came up with these initiatives in the Senate, and now they expect the House to move on them. We're not moving. The House has said they're not going to move, and one of the reasons they're not going to move is because of decent people in quiet communities who let their voices be heard out here, that they don't want movement. We have to make sure that we don't end up with some new 2,000-page monster of comprehensiveness, which we saw in Obamacare and Dodd-Frank, on something this important, and especially this important to California. Immigration reform is very, very serious. We didn't get here overnight, and we're not going to get overnight, and we're not going to get out of it through something extremely comprehensive.
Well, I agree with you, and I'm trying to figure out, there's so many ways to look at this issue. First of all, the welfare state is just rising.
That's the third thing we need to do.
Yeah.
The second thing is to divide them into 5 categories. Then the third thing you need to do is welfare reform. I mean, come on, we cannot have a welfare state if we are going to have people even moving in and out of the country that are not residents of this country. We can't even do it. It's just it's not possible. And for anyone that thinks, no, it is, we'll just have them come in through some work visa, and then they'll go on back home, and then,
No.
But according to the 14th Amendment, if they produce their children while they're here, their children are American, it's much more complicated than that. So, yes, you're absolutely right. The welfare state must be, and not just because of illegal questions, abolished for other reasons as well. And then number 4, let's get to education. Also has to be reformed. And what Washington can do there is make sure that the local school districts are protected, meaning that they get to be local and assess what the needs are of the children that are in their communities, as well as we need school choice. At the end of the day, government needs to remove itself out of all these things. And then the next thing we need to do, in my opinion, is to look at legal migration and assess what we're going to do about legal migration and refugees, because there are people that want to come here, and I am one that thinks that we should allow for people to come here, right. But it needs to be decent and in order. And we do have to think about refugees. Many Americans don't appreciate how benevolent we are as a people, and we allow for refugees. I actually personally met some folks coming in from Bhutan, not Bhutan, a country that is now and has been such under siege that the communists have wiped totally out. And today, yes, guys, I'm not talking, yesterday, a long time ago, you guys, why are you still harping on communism? It's over. It's not over. There's
right.
only 50,000 of these folks left, and we're bringing them into our country because they have no home. They have no country. They've been sitting in different countries in the Middle East and above, and now, so we have a very active migration program for refugees through our State Department. That is something we have to talk about. You're not going to be able to do that in one bill called immigration reform, simply because some people are looking at it politically.
All right. A couple things before we run out of time. What did you think of the President's State of the Union address? I mean, it ends up just being a political speech. He no more gave the state of the actual union. He just kind of gave his package again.
You're right, but I think that that's what he thinks the State of the Union is. It's his state, and he is going to unionize it and organize it and transform it into what the founders rejected. But there are those that really believe that these ideas will work. We just have to, ideas of socialism. Some are saying it's more like communism because they're built of the same cloth, that communism is just socialism with claws. I forgot who coined that phrase, but it is absolutely true. And that's what this philosophy of this president and his administration and his party are about. And what American people have to do is make a decision. We can't go on like this. Who do they want to do? Do we want to be biblical and free, or do we want to be secular and socialist? That's the question on the table. That's what every election in the near future is about, and all these other little things are details. If your house is on fire, we can sit there and try to talk about who started it. We can sit there and talk about, what kind of matches we're going to take away from society, or we can say we're going to put this fire out. And our house is on fire. We are going in a direction that throughout the history of the world, people have gone into and destroyed themselves from inside. And we have that debate. We are at that road, and now the American people have to decide which country they want to be.
Well, Star, you're an inspiration. How can people help you do what you do?
Well, I run a think tank in Washington. It is a 501c3. It's a nonprofit, and I love to have private supporters because that's all we get. We're not government funded whatsoever, and we kind of shy away, if we can, from corporate money even because, people that don't know my story, I believe the lie of the left. I believed everything they're saying today.
Right.
The poor were poor because of wealthy were wealthy. Your problem is somebody else's fault. America's so racist, don't even bother mainstream. And my life collapsed. I ended up in and out of their abortion clinics. I ended up on welfare system, 7 years in and out, 3.5 years consistently, and it wasn't until God got a hold of my heart, reached down in that little dark hole that I dug for myself and pulled me out of, that I was able to think more clearly, get a college degree, get into business, and now today run a think tank where we promote market-based solutions to fight poverty. We do not want the welfare state. This is destroying individuals, it's destroying entire communities, and it is bankrupting our country. So that's what I do. My group is Urban Cure. UrbanCure.org is where people will find all types of information about me and what I do. And I really, really appreciate you allowing me the opportunity to even share what I do on your radio because we fund ourselves through the generosity of individuals.
Good. Well, I encourage people to check it out and support what you do. You do a wonderful job. And I look forward to bumping into you in a couple of weeks at the NRB. Keep up the good work, Star, and blessings to you.
Please do. You'll blend in with the crowd, but there are very few out there with long braids. So black skin and braids. That's what I tell people. You'll recognize me and just come say hi. I look forward to it.
When I grab you and hug you, you'll know who it is. Okay.
Uh-oh. Whoa. Will your wife be there?
Yep, she will be. She'll be there.
All right. Don't let her have her hand on her hip saying, who is he hugging? I'll get a hug from her, too.
Okay. Thanks, Star.
God bless you, my brother. Okay, and I'll see you in a few weeks.
Well, she's just a delightful gal, and I look forward to having her on more often. Well, I got a question for you. Do you know that you are paying for 11 abortions in the state of Oregon every day? We'll give you some more information on that coming up in just a moment.
Hi, I'm Paulina, and I work at theDove TV. Did you know that when you support theDove TV, you have a profound impact, not only in our community, but around the world? It's your continued support that takes the inspiration and hope in the programs we produce and makes them available to the thousands of people who are watching these videos online every week. Help bring encouragement and hope to our valley and beyond by making a secure online donation today at our website, thedove.us.
Okay, I'm back, and of course, we're talking to Brian Platt with Jackson County Right to Life, and we want to get an update on how you can stop your dollars paying for abortions in the state of Oregon. Brian, nice to see you again.
Thank you, Perry.
What's the deal? Where are we with the petition drive?
Okay, so just in hard, cold facts and figures,
okay.
The deadline is May 11th, Mother's Day.
Okay.
Okay, and of course, we're talking to a number of different counties here right now, and so I've got a rundown. Jackson County, we're at 25% of our goal. Josephine County, bless their hearts, 52% of the goal.
Good.
Curry, 23%, Coos, 18%, Klamath, 45%, Douglas, 17%.
Okay.
Obviously, room for improvement.
Wow.
Statewide, 23%, 33,000 signatures. The goal is 150 so that we can weed out duplicates and errors and things. So halfway through the signature gathering process and about a fifth of the way through getting the signatures.
All right, folks, this is serious business, and this is an opportunity. The petition does what?
Okay, so as Perry had said, in Oregon, you and I as taxpayers, we're paying for approximately 11 babies to be killed 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. It's an unbelievable thing through the Oregon Health Plan. This is not federal Medicare, Medicaid, whatever that is. This is through the Oregon Health Plan. That's about 4,000 babies' lives every year. And we have no choice. So the goal here is to place in the Oregon Constitution an amendment which says that no tax funds will be used to pay for abortions except when medically necessary or is dictated by federal law. I mean, there's some things that they have to put in there or it'll be found unconstitutional immediately. So the idea is that we remove our contribution to the killing of these children. I guess in a way we could say it's giving us the choice. If we want to go out and pay for someone's abortion, we then have the choice. Right now we're obligated to do it. We have no choice. This will not stop abortion in Oregon. Okay, these women who currently are taking advantage of and using the Oregon Health Plan to get abortions can find other sources of funding, presumably. Okay, so this may not be the end-all as far as abortion in Oregon, but we have no restrictions on abortion in this state whatsoever. That's a cue for you to pick up the chart.
Let me demonstrate this. I don't know if our camera guys can pick this up, but this is a chart in the for the states that have restrictions. Oklahoma being the best, obviously has quite a bit. No reason, no wonder why they tried to attack Oklahoma in the last couple of months. There you go.
Exactly right.
And you come on down, all the way down at the bottom. You can't really see it here with this camera shot. If our cameraman could zoom in, but they're off to coffee now. Oregon, no restrictions. Absolutely no restrictions. So that's why this is so important.
And Perry even goes farther than that. And if you dive into the laws in Oregon, Oregon has in place a law that the legislators designed after Roe v. Wade was put into place at the national level, at the federal level. They actually put a law in place in Oregon now where if Roe should ever be overturned, Oregon becomes even more liberal with respect to the allowance of abortion than it is under Roe v. Wade. Of course, Roe v. Wade, probably don't have time to get into all that, but Roe v. Wade essentially made abortion legal through all 9 months of pregnancy. Now, the third trimester, the Supreme Court allowed for some exceptions. That's where these come in. It has to do with things such as waiting periods, limits on insurance coverage. I mean, there's 10 different categories here where the Supreme Court would allow for some restrictions to be placed. Oregon has none, and even worse than that, they actually went back, and there's language in Oregon's laws that would indicate that minors, unemancipated minors under the age of 15 even could legally challenge and get an abortion without their parents' permission. So we're off the chart as far as being liberal as far as abortion goes.
All right, folks, we got to get these petitions signed, and this is a big job in a short amount of time, and we've been working on this for quite a while. And how's it going? What do people need to do?
Well,
want to get these?
So we've got a bunch of ideas. I mean, there's a lot of ideas out there. You know, the first thing is, folks, can we just remember to pray for this effort? Let's just pray for this effort and pray for these women who feel like their only choice in life is to take the life of their baby, and then they find out later that that was about the worst thing they could have done. Beyond that, I feel like, and it doesn't matter what county we're talking about right now, I feel like the signatures that we need to fill this pile of signature sheets up are sitting in the pews of our churches. I really feel that strongly. So we need church involvement in this. We need the church leadership to sign on to this, to give permission to the congregants to get involved in the signature gathering in the foyers of their churches before and after the services for a few weeks. We have volunteers that would be happy to help with that. if there's any issue of manpower availability. So we need to get into the churches. If you have a church that you're attending and you haven't seen this petition being circulated in your church, give me a call. Go online to the Oregon 2014, Oregon2014.org website. There's all kinds of connections that you can make there to make sure that your church is contacted and we get permission from the leadership. But let's get into the churches.
Let me make one point there, Brian. Folks, you need to know this is totally legal. Pastors, this is totally legal. You can do this. This is 100% legal. So let me encourage you to get behind this and allow somebody, appoint somebody in your church to be the point person to stand in the foyer for the next several Sundays and get these things signed.
A couple other really easy one. Be a friend on Facebook for Oregon2014.org. I don't really understand that, but I understand that the more friends you got, it's kind of like this thing, stuff just starts to happen, you know, so I did it and then somebody told me I didn't even do it right.
Yeah,
so,
well, hang
you
in
know,
there.
yeah. So anyhow, but be a friend of Oregon 2014 on Facebook. Another one is Jeff is producing, one of the chief petitioners is producing giant field size banners to place on highways. So if you own property on a well-traveled highway or know someone that owns property on a well-traveled highway, if you would let me know, we can get out there. We'll take care of installing it. We'll take care of removing it. But it's about getting the message out that this is even happening, because most people are in denial that this is even going on in the state of Oregon. They just can't believe that this is happening. So I think that's a biggie.
Well, the other part of this, folks, if we can get these 116,000, actually the 150,000 signatures or so, get this on the ballot in November, this is going to be a huge midterm election. Normally, midterm elections aren't that big, but this is going to be a big one just because of the national issues. So the turnout's going to be really significant. So really, this is the one that we want it to be on coming up in November.
Well, and strategically, we know that the homosexual movement has got a petition apparently already with enough signatures on there to challenge our marriage amendment in the state of Oregon. They got the signatures to challenge the marriage amendment. So this is a huge spiritual battle. I mean, that's really what this is.
Yeah.
You know, we see it every month when we're down there picketing at Planned Parenthood. People just can't believe what we're trying to tell them about what's going on in this state with abortion. So no doubt about that. So I guess it's just, again, it's take some ownership of this. We've got a stack of sheets here a mile high that need to have signatures on them. When that stack is gone, Perry, we have successfully completed the mission.
Really?
Okay, so we've got to see that stack dwindle. I've got them at my shop. You can get them online. You can even sign yourself on, well, you can't technically sign online, but there's a button that says sign the petition online, and you print out one page with one line, put a stamp on it, mail it into Jeff, and let's get that signature in.
All right, we have some here at the Dove as well if you want to come by, but let me just encourage pastors, would you prayerfully, let me ask you this, challenge you to do this. Would you pray about this particular issue in one prayer setting? Just say, Lord, what would you have me to do about getting involved with this petition drive to stop taxpayer-funded abortions in the state of Oregon? And then if you feel led of the Lord, then get somebody in your church to head this up. Call Brian and his crew. Let that person become the point person. And for the next several Sundays, get somebody in the foyer of your church, maybe 2 or 3, get them going, and sign this thing, and let's get these signatures in.
And if anybody has a few bucks laying around, I think Jeff, honestly, is funding almost this entire thing right out of his own pocket.
Really?
And there's a place to donate there. And I mean, I think $10 would help Jeff out.
Okay, do that as well. Okay, Brian, so the website is Oregon2014.org.
Right, 2014.org, yep.
Your number to get a hold of you, if you don't mind.
Yeah, 541-821-4773. It's my cell. Probably go to voicemail, but I'll get back to you.
821-4773. You have petitions here. We have them here at the Dove. You got them at your shop, and they can go online and do one at a time there. So let me encourage you to do that. And then it has to be, the deadline is?
Well, the deadline is Mother's Day. I mean, that's what we're shooting for. And Lord willing, and people participating will be there with time to spare.
Okay. All right. Thanks, buddy. Hang in there, pal.
You're welcome.
Okay. We'll see you next time.
Hi, I'm Daniel and I work at theDove TV. You know, compared to Portland, Seattle, and LA, Medford might be considered a small market, but at theDove, we're excited about the opportunity to make a big impact right here in our community. And you help make that happen. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us now by making a secure online donation at our website, theDove.us, or by phoning 541-776-5368.
Okay, we're back, and I'm delighted to have in the studio with us today Pastor Larry Young. Dr. Young is the pastor of the First Presbyterian Church in Jacksonville, and we're continuing our series asking local pastors, how are they encouraging their congregates in the middle of this craziness world that we live in, where right becomes wrong and wrong becomes right? And so, Larry, nice to see you. How you doing, my friend?
Nice to see you. Good.
Good. Working hard. You're still
We're trying, giving it the old college try.
Well, you know, I hear nothing but good reports coming out of your church. It's just wonderful what the Lord's doing out there, and you got your building paid off.
We do.
You're sleeping at night.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a big kind of defining moment for the church last June when we were able to pull that off. So
Isn't that something?
It's good. And then there's a real release and freedom comes from that.
Oh,
so
that's wonderful.
now we can go forward, instead of trying to deal with what's already occurred.
What's forward mean to you? What's the Lord telling you guys?
Well, you know, right now we're preaching through Psalms. I decided that last year we did Romans, which, you know, is a difficult book.
You got through the year?
Oh, man, that was a tough go. And, you know, it's pretty cerebral. And, well, you know, Paul is very intense. And you know, he has tremendous arguments in the book. And, but it's very theological. And so we got through it. And I really think that there was fruit that manifests from that. But right now I thought that, you know, this year we really need to get into something that's more kind of conducive to healing people, to helping people who are suffering and going through difficult times. So that's what we're doing. And 2 out of the last 3 Sundays we've had healing services after the sermons, where people have been invited to come up for healing prayers, and of whatever variety that means, whether it's healing of memories, healing of emotions, healing of relationships, healing, bodily healing. You know, we have oil up there. We'll anoint them with oil. And it's been especially last Sunday was just a really powerful time. And boy, I couldn't believe how many people got up. It was just amazing. I looked around, because we have all the elders and the prayer team people get up around the perimeter of our sanctuary, and it was full. I mean, it was just, they were standing like 1 to 2 feet apart around the perimeter and people kept coming. So it was really telling.
Well, you know, that hits right where I want to go, because some of the statistics I read, what we experience here at the Dove in the way of phone calls and emails and responses, it appears that Christians are really struggling now. And I don't know of a time in my life where we've had to defend our faith the way we do in the marketplace or at the water cooler or wherever.
Sure.
But it just appears that Christians are really under a lot of pressure, and they're saying, all right, now wait a minute, I've been a Christian, I've walked this life, I read the Bible, but now I got to get another level of hold on this thing.
Right.
How are you responding to that?
You know, I think that Sally and I, my wife and I, have talked a lot about it, and we think that there's some real strongholds that the evil one is kind of exerting over our churches and over our community. And several that we've been able to identify are fear, stronghold of fear, stronghold of unbelief, and the stronghold of jealousy. Those 3 in particular we've been praying against. And I've shared this with some of our church leaders, not all of them, but you know, my wife is very discerning. I think she has that spiritual gift of discernment, and we've just seen evidence of that. It just seems to persist, these strongholds, and we've been praying in Jesus' name that they would be broken. But it just seems like we are in this battle that Paul describes in Ephesians 6, that spiritual battle that it doesn't appear in the material world, and yet we know it's very real. And it's almost palpable. You can almost feel it in some of the relationships that we deal with, and just in seeing some of the strange things that have happened, and, you know, especially that stronghold of jealousy. And you're kind of going, what on earth would make somebody, you know, feel that they had to leave a church because they were jealous of somebody else, you know, and it's mature Christians, you know, and it's like, where's this coming from? And the only thing I can figure out is the evil one's exerting some influence here.
Wow, that is powerful. You may have to be here for 3 days just to take these on. Let's come back to fear. Fear. Perfect love's supposed to cast it out, but we're suffering under fear. Fear of what?
Yeah, you know, I see people afraid. They're afraid for their jobs. They're afraid of what's going to happen tomorrow, the future, what's going to happen tomorrow.
Right.
They're afraid for their parents. They're afraid for their health, maintaining good health. What's going to happen if this happens or that happens? Just lots of kind of different manifestations of fear. So
how do you help somebody through that? How do you pray for them?
Well, I think that first of all, it needs to be identified.
Is it a bondage?
I think it can be.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it needs to be identified. I think an awareness of it and an admission that it's there is a huge first step. Sometimes we don't even know what's bothering us, what's gripping us. You know, what's, in a sense, holding us hostage. And you know, it's just when we come to terms with that, when we realize it, I think that's a important first step. And then to be able to confess it, to be able to say to a Christian leader or someone who's your prayer partner or something, to be able to say, you know, I'm really struggling. I'm afraid. I'm afraid for my kids, some of the decisions they've made. I'm afraid for my husband's job. I'm afraid for, you know, to be able to just kind of call it by name and identify it. And then to be able to just bring it to the Lord with a prayer partner, with your pastor, with somebody you trust. Yeah.
Boy, that's totally a James 5 where you call for the elders, you anoint with oil,
that's right.
You pray that prayer of faith.
That's right.
Unbelief.
Yeah.
Does that surprise you as a pastor?
Well, you know, the unbelief really deals with some strongholds that we see in our community. And you know, when we pray for our community, and we do on Sunday afternoons, it just seems like there's this persistent kind of opposition that we're getting, you know, and of course we had it back when we were trying to build our building, but you know, just in the attempts that we've made to kind of build bridges with our community, with our neighborhoods, that people are, you know, that unbelief seems to be there always. You know, like we had a new family that moved in and we tried to befriend them that was across the street from our church, you know, and we invited their children to Vacation Bible School, and I was over there one day and the woman was outside working and we were just trying to be friendly, and, you know, she made it very clear that they weren't, you know, we're not interested in this at all, you know, and kind of like, in a nice way, she said that. But it really hit me there that, you know, that there's this strong undercurrent of unbelief that seems to kind of persist.
Before I take a break, I want to poke at one thing you said. When you went into your building program, did all hell break loose?
It did. It did. It absolutely did. You know, and I still remember it was in May of 1998. When we were talking a long time ago.
Yeah.
But I was talk about being blindsided. You know, I thought, here we are in a little town in Southern Oregon.
Yeah.
This isn't the Bay Area.
Yeah.
You know, this isn't, you know, some place that's known for being anti-Christian. And boy, did we encounter great opposition there. And at first, you know, we took it at face value because people were telling us, well, it's the traffic and the congestion and all these other kind of issues. Yeah. Well, we got those figured out and resolved, and yet there was still opposition. Yeah. So it's like, where's this coming from? Yeah. You know, is it really coming from these traffic issues?
When in your mind does the leader go from thinking, well, this is just normal stuff that you would go through in a building program, to, wait a minute, this is a spiritual attack?
Pretty soon after we had 2 traffic studies done that we paid for. We presented the findings to the, you know, to the council. Yeah. And when those were just kind of shot down, I'm thinking to myself, there's a lot more to this than meets the eye. And of course, nobody will admit it. Nobody wants to come out and say they're anti-Christian or they don't want churches or, you know, oh no, that will never, you know, nobody would admit that. But we sure got it. Boy, did we get it. Yeah. And not just from the city council, we got it from, of course, some other people. However, the majority of the people in the town, you know, we went around and did a kind of a survey of the people to find out what kind of support we had from the community. And the gals that were running this particular thing found that 70% of the people were in favor of the church building there. So, you know, 3/4 of the town were behind us.
That's wonderful. All right, well, we're talking to Pastor Larry Young. He's pastor of First Presbyterian Church in Jacksonville. And if you haven't been to the new church, you're missing it. It's just gorgeous, and the Lord has really blessed them right there in the middle of a vineyard now.
Yeah, isn't that wonderful?
It really is. I mean,
Yeah.
I look
15,
across the,
there.
come in, I look across there, and I see those long rows of vineyards, and then there sits your steeple. Oh, this is beautiful. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, I want him to unpack the bondage of jealousy that he and his wife have been praying over. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Paula, and I work at theDove TV. Every day we get letters and emails from people who've been encouraged, blessed, and challenged by the programs on theDove TV. But we couldn't do it without you. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us continue to bring inspiration and hope to our community by making a secure online donation at our website, theDove.us, or call us at 541-776-5368.
Okay, we're back with Pastor Larry Young, and he's pastor of the First Presbyterian Church in Jacksonville. And this is an extension of the series that we're doing with local pastors coming in. And I've been asking them, how are they encouraging their congregation during these crazy times in which we live? And I think, Larry, what you have done here today has verified the very thing that we have sensed, and the reason why we're doing this series, that a lot of Christians are really struggling with their faith. They love God, but they don't know why He's not working very well in their life right now. And you and your wife, Sally, prayed and came up with 3 areas that you feel were strongholds: fear, unbelief, and jealousy.
That's right.
And I'm just stunned. I think you're spot on. You know, from what we sense on people responding to the programming, letters and emails that we get here at the Dove, I think those areas are pretty much cover some of the things that we feel and sense. Jealousy is a weird one.
It is. It's strange, isn't it? You'd think that we Christians would kind of that would not be a threat to us. Right. That would not be a sin, essentially. You know, that we are pretty accepting of our circumstance and our situation and stuff. And yet, you know, our experience is showing that, and it's not just the way it affects us, but it's the way that we observe people relating to each other, you know, in the community and the church. And it's, you know, whether it's economic jealousy, where people are jealous of material goods, or they're jealous of how well their family's doing compared to their family, or the fact that somebody's married and they're not married, and they have a husband or they have a wife. You know, we just see it in many different realms. So.
You know, I think social media has added to this because it's a constant comparison. You're seeing what other people do and you're not doing that.
That's right.
It's that constant comparison. They have it, you don't.
That's right. Absolutely. Yeah. We are constantly being bombarded with that message that if you don't have this, whatever it is, kind of something's wrong with you, you know, and you need to get it figured out.
So how do you help your people to become content, like Paul says, in all things?
In all things.
You know, how do you help them to do that?
Boy, you know, I think modeling it ourselves personally, just that you know, we are content. We don't feel like we have to go out and, you know, broadcast what we have, or, you know, live in a way that would make people jealous of us. I mean, obviously, it's hard here because, you know, if you're tithing and you're being obedient to the Lord and He's blessed you, you know, it's not like you have to live. Do you know what I mean? I mean, you can live with God's blessings, and we should enjoy them. I mean, I think He gives them to us to enjoy. So, but we don't want to flaunt them, parade them around for people to, you know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, I think we as, you know, we have that responsibility. On the other hand, I think, you know, we have the responsibility of not looking at others who have what we don't have and wishing we had whatever that is. Yeah. You know, God has given us what we have for reasons. And I think that, you know, He calls us to be faithful, He calls us to tithe, He calls us to do these things. And if we do them, you know, then I think God will meet us at our point of need. You know, the Bible says that God will meet all of our needs according to His riches and glory in Christ Jesus. Doesn't mean He's going to meet all our wants, all our desires, but He does meet our needs.
There you go. Were you surprised when you called for prayers of healing, the amount of people that went for it?
You know, the Holy Spirit was so present in that building on Sunday. I wasn't completely taken back, just because you have those Sundays where you feel like, well, the Spirit blows where He wills, and there's some Sundays where you just feel like, kind of, where is He? Other Sundays, boy, is He here. And last Sunday was one of those Sundays where it was just like, oh my goodness, I sensed it in the preaching. So it didn't surprise me completely that many people got up. It was such a blessing, though, to see Him.
Well, I was going to say, the flip side of that is, here's body ministry at its best.
Right.
People praying for people.
That's right.
And coming forward in that sense of not disbelief, but believing that God can do this, and coming just as babes to say, I got a problem here. I need prayer for that.
It's so refreshing, too. And to see this in a Presbyterian church.
Well, no, listen.
We get the rap of being the frozen chosen. Here we are, we're thawing out,
Yeah.
And I mean, thank God, that
well, you and your congregation have really gone through that. I mean, in and out of associations and things like that. You've seen the change within your own denomination.
Oh, it's so refreshing.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Where do you think that's all leading?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's wonderful. I mean, I think what I saw on Sunday was just, it did my heart well. It makes a pastor, that's kind of the highlight of a pastor's life, to see people being so responsive and wanting to be
part
prayed
of this, Larry, is I don't think we as Christians have had to defend our faith like we do today. We're put down for believing. We're put down for literally thinking that the Bible is true. I mean, you know the drill.
Right.
We're under this attack in America. I mean, who would think this is America, that Christianity is being put down? Well, if you add on top of that the hardness of living in this culture, I mean, it's a pretty heavy weight for people to carry.
That's right.
How do you encourage somebody, wait a minute, leave all that stuff, come to your faith. Let's get your faith renewed. Let's get you healed there.
Yeah. I think that's why attending worship on a regular basis is so important, because it really it reminds us of our worldview, what our perspective is.
Yeah.
It gives us a chance to glorify God, to remember that He's the one, that is to get the glory and the honor, not us, and not our achievements, not what we're trying to accomplish on our own, but it's all about the Lord. It's all about worshiping Him. And we need that constant kind of reminder, just like Jesus told us to celebrate the Lord's Supper in remembrance of Him, to always remember His sacrifice. We need that regular worship time every week to remember kind of who we are and who God is.
It also provides for an unbelievable opportunity for the church. I mean, this is the church's moment. The whole world is suffering and asking two questions. The way I have boiled it down is two questions. What is truth, and who can I trust? That's the church's moment.
Right.
To go for the unsaved.
That's right.
How do you see that in the community? How does your church reach the unchurched?
We've been doing it through events. A lot of our evangelism and outreach is event focused. We have a massive harvest festival on Halloween.
I know you do.
You've been there.
It's wonderful. And I can't believe you take that congregation, that beautiful sanctuary, and turn it into what you do.
The very first year we were in there, we had a bounce house, and people walk in, they go, "This thing's brand new, and you're doing this." Yeah. And but it's the Lord's place. It's His, in a sense, it's His temple, and we want to use it for His glory. It's not about us and preserving bricks and mortar and all that stuff. It's all about using it for the kingdom, and that's what we want to do. And so we had this harvest festival. This past year we had about 1,500 people come through. A lot of them are community people. They've never been in churches before.
Right.
And we know that because women will walk in, and I was at the greeter table, and they'll say, "What is this?" It gives us a chance to kind of explain what it is. Can I go in and look before I bring my kids? Sure, go in and look. And we want to kind of, for a lot of people, it's the first time they've ever even been in a church building. And it's pretty amazing. And so we're trying to, provide a context for them to come in when it's not as threatening like it is for non-Christians on Sunday morning, to enter a church building, because they don't know what goes on there.
Right.
And the whole thing is kind of fear of the unknown. So we have that. We help with the Living Nativity that we do in Jacksonville right before Christmas.
It got frozen out this year.
We got frozen out this year, but the last 2 years, it's been very successful. Lots of people have come through.
Yeah.
So a lot of our outreach is kind of event-based. We want to reach our community that way, and we encourage our people to, bring their friends and to share their faith with their friends. So kind of the friendship evangelism thing too.
When we survey our audiences here, we find out a couple of things. A third of our audience are very plugged in Christians, active, go to church. A third of our audience are Christians who are wounded and they're not plugged in. And then the other third are literally non-believers. So from our perspective, we see it real clear what God has us doing. But those who have been hurt by church, what can you say to those? Because you and I both know the answer to that is get back in church, get into a fellowship. The Bible says, forsake not the coming together.
That's right.
So what can you say to those who have been maybe hurt?
Yeah, I would say to them, I'm sorry that you were wounded, and I don't know all the circumstances, obviously, of what happened.
Right.
And I'm sure that they really affected you. But life has to go forward, and I think you're really hurting yourself by not going and being part of a community of faith, because that community of faith can be so wonderful, so rich, so rewarding. And just be careful of judging every church by one church or two churches in which you were wounded, because churches are different. They're just like pretty much anything else. And it might take you a little while to find one that you can really, where you feel comfortable,
right,
and where you feel like this is a place for me. And I know it takes some work. It takes some getting out of your comfort zone to go out and try churches. But I think it's worth the effort. We have people that all the time that come in and say, boy, I have never had a church experience like this. And we try to provide care groups where people can make Christian friends, where they can really grow in their Christian faith. We have ministries for children and youth. A lot of these churches do too. So we're not unique with that.
Well, and I think you're absolutely right. The main thing there is that the very thing that can help you is probably the thing that initially hurts you.
That's right.
And if you can,
that's the irony.
And if you can just, all right, that was there, but this is now, move on. On the other hand, be careful. Don't become a life church shopper, because there are those.
You bet.
I mean, you're a pastor. You see the church hopping going around
That's
here.
Right. That's right. And people get offended.
Yeah.
And that's one of the biggest things I think Satan uses against people. And for some of the most trivial reasons. We think in our own mind it's really important.
Yeah.
But if you're able to stand back and look at it a little more objectively, you're going, is that really that big a deal? But Satan can take something and he can expand that, and he can develop that in your own thinking and your own mind, and to the point where it's the biggest deal that's ever happened to you.
All right. You got 1 minute to preach.
Haven't I been doing that?
No, go ahead. But for the person who's struggling today, what's your message to them?
The God that we worship in Jesus Christ is a God of healing and hope. And that's so much of what Jesus' message was. He wanted to introduce the message of the kingdom of God, which to a broken and sinful and struggling world was a wonderful message of healing and hope. And that's for all of us, as we consider our brokenness and our suffering.
Well, if you're looking for a good church, try this one. First Presbyterian Church in Jacksonville. Your location is?
425 Middle Street.
All right.
We're right next to the vineyard. As you're coming down on South Stage Road,
you'll see it through the vineyard. You'll see it down there. And worship times?
8:55 and 10:30 on Sunday mornings.
8:55 and 10:30 on Sunday mornings. All right. Thank you, Larry, for coming in. God bless you, pal.
Thanks, Perry.
All right. We'll see you next time on Focus Today.
Hi, I'm Jim and I work at theDove TV. Every weekday between 6 and 8 a.m., our award-winning news and sports team bring you the best morning show around. It's live, it's honest, and it's a whole lot of fun. And you help make it happen. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us continue to air local programs that share your voice by making a secure online donation at our website, theDove.us.